Ladies and gentlemen, we meet again towards Parshat Va'era. For a short and sweet idea, this Parsha has 7 out of the 10 plagues that HaKadosh Baruch Hu hit Mitzrayim, Egyptians, towards the Exodus, towards taking us out of Mitzrayim on our journey towards Eretz Yisrael. So the Torah is not only teaching us history, it's not only teaching us laws, it's teaching us good virtues. It's teaching us midot tovot, midas, trying to teach us how to conduct our life in the best way and have the proper respect and the proper attitude towards different things in life. And it teaches us already from the first 3 plagues, we see something fascinating, that Moshe Rabbeinu is told to tell Aaron to take his staff and hit the Nile. Why hit the Nile? Okay, we understand in the ancient world that it was an agricultural world, so the issue of water is the main issue, and the Nile is the main source of water for the whole of Egypt. So if you hit the Nile, you have given them a big plague. It's not Moshe who's going to hit the Nile. Why? Because Moshe himself was saved by the Nile. That's what Rashi tells us, that Moshe was put in the Nile in a basket, and the Nile saved him until the daughter of Paro came and saved him out of the Nile. But the Nile was good to him. So Moshe can't be the person, because he has to show gratefulness. He has to show hakoros hatov. He has to show appreciation to the Nile. So if it's something against the Nile, it has to be Aaron, not Moshe. Furthermore, we go to the second plague, the frogs, the tzfardea. Again, they come up from the Nile. The Nile has to be hit. Hashem says to Moshe to tell Aaron to do it. You're not going to do it. Let's go to the third plague. The third plague is lice. Lice, they had to hit the sand. There again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe to tell Aaron, why can't Moshe hit the sand? He can't hit the sand because one of the first stories about Moshe Rabbeinu is when he saw this Egyptian torturing the Jew. So he killed the Egyptian and buried him in the sand. So he has certain gratefulness towards the sand that hid the Egyptian that he killed. All these are inanimate. The water of the Nile, the sand of Egypt, they're inanimate. So if we have to have gratefulness and we have to show appreciation to inanimate, how much more so do we have to show appreciation towards each other? Furthermore, we see in Parshas Mishpatim, when it starts talking about kashrus issues, and it tells us what to do with a piece of meat that we find in the field. We find in the field a dead animal or a piece of meat. What do we do with it? Or an animal that wasn't shechted properly. It's called a nevela, a dead piece of meat, which is not edible for Jews. What do we do with it? It says, La keleb tashlichun oto. Don't just throw it away. Give it for the dogs to eat. Why give it to the dogs to eat? Says Rashi, the dogs had played an important role during Yetzias Mitzrayim, because it says, U'lechol b'nei Yisrael lo yichratz keleb l'shono. The dogs that were guarding the slaves that they shouldn't escape, they had these big security dogs. The Egyptians had these big security dogs, and during Yetzias Mitzrayim, they were quiet. They didn't bark. They didn't bite. They were very quiet. They let Yetzias Mitzrayim happen. They completely cooperated with the Jews. But it says, Orach Chaim, it says, which means they didn't bark at any of the Jews. But if there was an Egyptian who was trying to get out of Egypt together with them, so they barked like hell and they attacked them. And so the dogs cooperated with us during Yetzias Mitzrayim, and therefore we have to show gratitude. We have to show them gratefulness. And therefore, until today, when we find a piece of meat which is not edible, if there is a possibility to give it to a dog, give it to a dog. Because we show gratefulness. That is who we are. That is part of our identity. Our identity is not only to show gratefulness to the inanimate, like the Nile and the sand, to show gratefulness to animals. So how much more so do we have to show gratefulness to other human beings? And how much more so do we have to show gratefulness towards HaKadosh Baruch Hu? And therefore the whole book begins with Vayokom Melech Chodosh al Mitzrayim Asher Lo Yadat Yosef. There was a new king, and he didn't appreciate Yosef. What do you mean? Yosef turned Egypt into the biggest empire in the Middle East. It was thanks to his leadership in the years of starvation and the years of plenty, and he turned Egypt to the biggest empire. And you are the king, and you're not recognizing, you have no gratitude, you have no respect, you have no gratefulness towards what Yosef, Lo Yodas Yosef. And later on we see that when Moshe and Aaron come to Paro and ask for Bnei Yisrael to get out, Paro says, Lo Yodati es Hashem. I don't know Hashem. Says the Medrash there on the spot, Medrash Rabbah, that Kol HaKofer b'tovato shel chavero, sofo kofer b'tovato shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If you are not grateful, so you're not grateful. And if you're not grateful to human beings, like this king who wasn't grateful to Yosef, you end up not being grateful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is our identity. We identify as Yehudim, as Jews, Jews from Judah. Judah is called Judah. Yehuda is from Leah saying, Hapam Odeh Hashem, Odeh Hashem, I will thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are the thankful people. We are the people of virtue, of gratitude, of gratefulness, to such an extent that when we wake up in the morning, the first word we're supposed to say when we open our mouth is Modani lefanecha melech chai v'kayim, or Modani lefanecha. We, first of all, we don't have to wash our hands before that. We don't have to find the yarmulke. We have to do anything. You open your eyes, you say, Modani lefanecha. We are the people of gratefulness. We are the people of the virtues of showing appreciation to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, showing appreciation to our human friends, showing appreciation even to the animals and even to the inanimate. Shabbat Shalom.